The Woodbridge Conservation Commission, Thursday, we start over. Thursday, September 19th, 7:30, calling the meeting to order. All right, so we're going to start with our approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, did anybody have a second?
I will second.
All right, does anybody have any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so moved. Next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce two young individuals from our town, very promising in the field of science. Nikki and Sophia, you guys want to introduce yourself? They were finalists in the Connecticut Science and Engineering Fair in 2024. They did exceptionally well being on the board and watching them win all the accolades that they possibly could for their project. We went back and forth with emails many times. They wanted to present to the Conservation Commission. We thought it was appropriate. They were also very interested in being student members of the Conservation Commission. So we can talk about that as well. But without further ado, I'd like you guys to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your project.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Messina, and I'm currently a senior at Amity Regional High School in Woodbridge.
Hi, I'm Nikki Petrov, and I'm also a senior at Amity. And our project this year was to design a novel spray mechanism to trigger an entomopathogenic fungal-based miticide inside of beehives to control Varroa destructor infestations.
So, among animals, bees are the most dominant pollinators of wild and crop plants around the world. The Varroa destructor, also known as the Varroa mite, is a parasite that attacks and kills bees and beehives. Mite infestations, which typically occur from late autumn to early spring, can lead to the deaths of significant portions of bees. And according to the USDA, from July to September of 2020, Varroa mites affected 55.7% of beehives in the United States. And how Varroa mites work is they attack and cling onto the backs of worker bees in a parasitic manner to enter the hive. And then once inside of the hive, they feed on the bee larvae and pupa to grow. Varroa destructors can cause numerous detrimental impacts on bees and beehives, which include but are not limited to beehive destruction and certain diseases such as deformed wing virus, which can impair the flight of bees. And currently, beekeepers commonly employ methods such as emitting miticides such as synthetic acaricides. And one example of this is amitraz, which is emitted in gaseous form into beehives over an extended period of time. However, the overuse of these chemicals has led to many Varroa mites developing resistance to them. Additionally, constant exposure to these toxic miticides can be detrimental to both bees and beekeepers. As an alternative, essential oils such as thymol have been explored. However, the drawback to these is that they have limited applicability during certain times of the year. They can lead to honey contamination, and also bees are becoming resistant to them.
So that's why a solution to this issue, and our proposed solution, is to develop a novel Bluetooth-connected spray that will deliver an environmentally friendly miticide using entomopathogenic fungi. So entomopathogenic fungus is so it's toxic to Varroa mites, but it's safe for bees to be exposed to. And when combined with dish soap as an emulsifier, entomopathogenic fungus spores can have similar properties to oil sprays, so like household oil sprays. Existing methods of administrating miticides often put the beekeepers at risk of toxic exposures to chemicals, and they often waste significant amounts of time when beekeepers have to go to hundreds or even thousands of hives on the commercial level. So this spray mechanism would enable farmers to treat many hives remotely at once, which will promote the safety and efficiency of treatment. So initially we modeled ideas of designs using AutoCAD and rough sketches. And the first design prototype involved a few key elements that were not included in the final prototype. In particular, we sketched a design that uses a high-powered fan to release a solution out of the nozzle that will eliminate the varroa mites from the hives. But due to our limited knowledge on online testing software, we were unable to do so.
Okay, so when we created our first official prototype, we procured a Bluetooth connected diffuser from an online retailer, which we connected to an online app for remote control. And this app has two notable features. It can remotely set the spray up to go off at certain intervals of the day based on the beekeeper's needs, and users can set a specific volume that they want to administer. For this project, we set it to a maximum of 50 milliliters because beehives with higher populations tend to include 50,000 bees, and the optimal dosage of fungus is 1,000th of a milliliter per bee. Therefore, for a population of 50,000 bees, the healthy dosage would be 50 milliliters. We modified the nozzle of this diffuser by attaching rubber tubing to the solution reservoir and threading it through the opening of the diffuser and into a hole in the hive. And you can kind of see that in this image. So that's the solution reservoir right there, and we attached rubber tubing to it. And we created an outer shell to house and protect the spray mechanism from the elements. That's what you can see on the outside of it right there. And we also designed a hinge-like door system, which you can see here, to open and close and enable easy refills of the solution when necessary. So this allows the solution reservoir to be taken out, unscrewed, and refilled. So basically this door right here will swing open. You can remove that, and that solution reservoir goes inside of that white diffuser, and it can be refilled. So the refill process would be the only part of the miticide administration procedure that the beekeeper would have to be involved in. Aside from this, the spray can be activated entirely remotely, and it can be deployed from a distance of up to 30 feet, which is the typical connectivity range of a Bluetooth device. We modeled this prototype after the bottom layer of a beehive called the brood box because this is the area which worker bees enter through, and this area also houses the bee larvae and pupa. And this is the most vulnerable part of the beehive to Varroa destructor infestations because as the worker bees enter into the hive, the Varroa mites can leave them and feed on the bee larvae and pupa, and that's how they are so destructive.
So we tested our model in two separate ways. The first way was using olfactory or smell testing, where we made a mixture of 95% water, 5% baby powder, and then we added in 0.2 milliliters of essential oil. After the spray system was inserted into the side compartment, as you can see, of the test beehive, an olfactory test was performed on different areas of the beehive. So how we did this was 5 sections of the beehive were tested for smell to ensure that the spray would be evenly dispersed throughout the hive. And we assigned a rating from 0 to 2 regarding the smell of the paper that received this spray. A 0 indicated that there was no smell at all after we took the spray. A 1 showed that there was a smell directly after the spray was deployed, and a 2 showed us that the smell lasted on the paper for 5 minutes. This was done to determine whether the spray was being dispersed thoroughly throughout the hive. Our second test examined the absorbency of different papers throughout the hive. For this, the same solution was added to the essential oil diffuser. The masses of 5 pieces of paper, which were different from the first test, were measured. We then placed these papers in the same areas as the first test, and after 5 minutes we took the mass of each paper again. And we compared the initial mass and the final mass to determine how much of the spray was coating each paper in the different areas of the hive. And we met both of our goals that we set early on in our project, which the first one was to be user-friendly. So we did this by using that latch-based door system that we discussed earlier, the hinge-based door system, as well as the Bluetooth connectivity that made it very easy to use. Our other criterion was for the spray mechanism to deliver the spray throughout the hive evenly, which we discovered to be true throughout testing, throughout both of our methods of testing. However, we would want more mass-based testing to be conducted to determine whether it's truly efficient. Future work would be sending the device to our mentor in Maryland for professional testing using a real beehive and to use live bees and add new elements to the spray. Some alternative power sources could be discussed, like solar power to improve environmental sustainability. And at the Connecticut Science Fair, we discussed with a judge the possibility of implementing a LoRa or a long-range sensor so that these beehives could be, this system could be used from a longer range away, which would allow for more beehives to be targeted in general.
So as we know, the mass systems that we have to measure mass, they are often not able to detect very minute changes, like to the thousandth and tens of thousands, which is what we would want to measure. So we discovered another method of potentially testing our device, and that would be the usage of a fluid that fluoresces under black light. Because we are only applying the spray in an enclosed area within the bottom layer of the hive, we would be able to track exactly the area that is covered by the spray. And this would also help us track how much of the bees are coated by the spray, because we would be able to take specific measurements. And this would be best implemented in our mentor's laboratory in Maryland, because it would require live testing, once again. And overall, our solution can be a viable alternative to the usage of synthetic acaricides to control Varroa destructor infestations, and it would also help decrease the negative environmental impacts of using synthetic sprays. This spray and spray mechanism can provide commercial beekeepers with a user-friendly automated system to deliver an environmentally safe entomopathogenic fungal miticide. And this novel application method may also limit the exposure of beekeepers to these toxic chemicals. And lastly, the spray mechanism can be used remotely in bad weather conditions so that the beekeeper can deploy it remotely, rather than the beekeeper having to wait until weather conditions are optimal for gassing. So overall, what we did is we created the spray mechanism, and our mentor is working on the specific concentration of the entomopathogenic fungal miticide and how to optimize that in conjunction with other mixes of liquid.
Thank you.
Nice.
Quiz after.
Yeah, there's a quiz for us.
Right.
For us.
For us.
I know,
No
right?
quiz.
I mean, impressive, right?
Impressive.
Yes.
Wonderful work.
And they won all sorts of awards for it. I was interested. I'm really sorry that Joy couldn't be here and Sharon couldn't be here with their interest in pollinators and gardens, unfortunately. But hopefully they'll be able to watch this afterwards. But I was curious, how much of this mite is present up here, or is it more out west? So if you guys could talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so my family we have a beehive at home, and our hive within the past week just got attacked by these varroa mites.
Oh no.
And we didn't have, so luckily
Luckily, you had your.
Yeah,
approach
but sadly
and
we
test.
discovered this way too late, so
Oh,
we had
no.
to go into these more heavy-duty chemicals. And like the research that we examined throughout our project, it showed us that those chemicals can often not just kill these varroa mites, but they can also kill the bees that are within the hive.
Oh no.
So these varroa mites are definitely common everywhere, even here. And I know that it's an issue that many people in our local beekeeping community deal with on a seasonal basis.
So you just discovered it this year. What made you come up with this idea for this project? How did
So-
you identify the problem?
So I've always been into gardening. You know, my family has a big garden. We always garden with my dad. We grow lots of things and we use that to make salads. And my dad has always put an emphasis on taking care of the planet and, you know, taking care of animals. And he's always emphasized the importance of bees. So while many people may have run away from bees as little kids, I was always the person who would stay calm and, you know, let the bee flutter around, do its thing. And I was really interested in them, and so was Nikki because he has bees at his own home. So we researched problems with bees, and we discovered the whole issue of varroa mites. And it's a huge issue. Like I mentioned before, 55.7% of beehives across the United States are affected by varroa mites.
Wow.
So it's not an issue that is solely relegated to one area. It's a widespread thing across the world, even in South America. So
Do we know where they originated from?
I'm not quite sure of the origin of them, but I know that there is development of genetically altered bees that are resistant to varroa mites. So that's another thing that's coming out. It's pretty
Interesting.
cool.
So do these mites just infect like domestic bees, or do they attack wild bees as well?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yes. So can attack any kind.
And wild bees are more susceptible and vulnerable to their hive being destroyed because they don't have any like caretakers or anything like that would find a solution to the problem, because bees on their own often struggle with kind of getting rid of these, and it's actually impossible for bees to do it on their own typically because it's a parasite.
There's a farming strategy called integrated pest management. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Some of our local farms in Connecticut use it, where when you discover a pest or something that is bothering your crop or your livestock, you try to introduce a natural predator to that. So maybe that could be something worth, I don't know if it would be a predator for the mites. Would it also be a predator for the bees? Hopefully not. But could there be something along those lines that you could look at? Would be a chemical-free, but rather somebody comes in, like think chickens and ticks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it would definitely would be like an insect that we would introduce into the sort of range of the beehive that would be able to eat up these mites.
Yeah.
And take them out. But the problem would be that once they're in the beehive, you can't really introduce other animals into the hive.
The bees don't like that.
Yeah, the bees hate it. But
And also, here, let me try to find a picture of the varroa mites in the bee pupa, because they're really in there. So I'm just going
You'll
to
see that.
find a picture. Varroa mite.
How often would you, or have you not found out yet, how often would you have to apply this?
how often would you? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
disgusting. But you would apply it on.
Sorry for the viewers at home.
It would be automatic. So you would plug it into this app on your phone, and it would be automatic. And at these very small, low dosage quantities, it would be pretty much daily that the spray system would go off.
And it would be more of a preventative measure to prevent the infestation from growing to a level where it can't be controlled and it starts killing off a lot of bees.
Two more questions. Anybody else? Two questions. Where did the varroa mites come from? Like how are they introduced into the area? Do you know?
So I think they live on, you know, common plants and things like that. And when the worker bees go out into the environment, I think they kind of cling on to them. They're like ticks in
Yeah.
the sense that they cling on to the bees instead of, you know, how we walk in the grass and ticks cling on to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my other question was, have you seen anything this is a prevention or a treatment, right? For when you have it, is there anything on early detection?
There have been really interesting things explored in the scientific community, especially lately, where people have implemented machine learning based recognition systems that will basically scan each and every beehive as they come into the hive,
Wow.
and it'll scan it and see if there's a varroa mite on it, which I think it's a really interesting field that's being explored, and it's absolutely crazy that these possibilities are being explored.
It's cool.
It's really interesting.
Interesting.
Is this the problem that first occurred maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago maybe? That suddenly all the bees were dying and nobody knew why?
So I think this has been going on for a decently long amount of time. I think that the main issue is that varroa mites are becoming, like, not more powerful, but
More
without...
abundant?
Yeah. They're kind of destroying more bees, and this issue is worsening. So it's a problem that's gotten worse over time, and unless the bees develop a resistance to them, there's really no way that they can combat them. Like with any invasive species, it kind of grows over time.
I think a really interesting thing, a little fun fact here, is that these varroa mites are more predatory to we've all heard about humans and their sort of effect on their negative effect on ecosystems, but these varroa mites have an even more significant negative effect on wild beehives than humans do, which was really interesting to find out through our initial research.
Interesting. All right. Any other questions? We're all frantically searching, please.
Well, I have a question, now that you brought it up. What would happen to the beekeeper if he was affected by one of these mites? So I know we talked about the bees, but the beekeeper itself, do you know what would happen to him? What type of illness would he get, or what would be his symptoms?
Oh,
Or her
these mites are incredibly microscopic. So the images that I pulled up on my computer, those are very zoomed in, and they wouldn't be detectable to the human eye.
Do they cause a threat
He
to
wouldn't-
humans at all?
It wouldn't be a threat.
Oh.
They don't really cling on to humans, but if they did, it would be very minimal and even less significant than just a common tick.
You had mentioned that there was some possibility for harmful exposure to the beekeepers from some of the other treatments. Maybe that's where you were going though. That question is what could happen to some of the beekeepers if they're exposed to these other treatments for varroa mites?
So I don't think there have been many studies that specifically, I guess, relate the cause to the miticides, but with any kind of exposure like inhalation of a toxic substance,
Sure.
it can be detrimental to your health. So I think it's really on a case-by-case basis, how often each beekeeper is using it, what kind of protective equipment they have.
Sure.
And the long-term exposure is definitely the bigger sort of hazard than just a short-term exposure.
Sure. Any other questions? You guys have a project coming up for this year?
We're still in that phase where
You're in the
it's
phase of
in
discovery.
the in-between phase. Yeah.
You gonna stay with the same one or try something new?
I think.
Yeah, I think we're gonna save
Yeah.
this.
All right, interesting.
good.
Well, thank you so much. This was great.
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations on your success and good luck this year. Yeah, you guys are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting and learn about the riveting life of a conservation commission.
It's a school night.
Yeah, sure you have, well, hopefully you don't have too much homework yet in September, but thank you very much and congratulations on your work.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we're turning back to our agenda. What's happening around town? So I've got 3 events on our agenda. Just want to mention to everybody we think they're important. There was a 4th event that came up that we need to add as well, but it has to do really with the plan of conservation development. So we have trail cleanup, which is going to come October 13th on Sunday at 11 a.m., not p.m. I put the wrong time down, at 11 a.m. If anybody is interested, you can email our wonderful trail master, Andy Danzig, at info@woodbridgetrails.org. to learn more about that. Trail cleanup is a great time to go out to the trails, and we're really focusing on removing a lot of the invasives around town, which I know is a key priority for a lot of folks. Also, the sustainability, the ad hoc sustainability committee in town is coming out with a sustainability series again. The first one is on September 21st. So get ready, folks. In 2 days at the library at 3 o'clock, you can learn all about Connecticut rides share, and everything they want to teach you about that. So the library in the meeting room, 3 o'clock on the 21st. There's going to be other series happening there once a month. Also, Woodbridge Lake Me Day is coming up October 5th at 11. That's going to be on the town green. It's always a good time. I have it later on in the agenda to talk about, you know, if we're going to table there, who's available to table, and if we want, you know, the famous Val quiz on how well people know their town, which haven't really had any town members pass, have we?
Only the Girl
They don't.
Scouts.
We're scoring this on a curve.
They did surprisingly well, though. I was impressed.
Really?
Yeah.
The Girl Scouts did.
No,
No,
everybody in
yeah,
town
yeah.
did really well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just said they didn't do well, so
Yeah.
I guess I was reading the wrong scores.
It must have been during our
It's
shift.
just my own score.
Oh yeah, our shift they were pretty
They
good.
were-
So
Very knowledgeable.
Oh, good. All right, we're gonna have to mix up the questions.
Yes,
So
one
those are
step harder.
3 events that are coming up. Another one that I'm gonna add, and I'm not sure if anybody else has anything to join, but very important. There's a community meeting, a community-wide meeting on the plan of conservation and development. This is an opportunity for residents and businesses to learn more about the plan of conservation and development and what's going to be happening over the next year to influence that plan. So if folks have things near and dear to their heart about conservation or development that they'd like to discuss, they should attend that meeting. It's on October 8th at 4 to 6, something like that, 4 to 7. So it's going to be plenty of time. You don't have to go for the whole thing. Where is it going to be?
I'm pulling up.
I feel like it's going to be in a big room.
I think it's here.
It's
at
going to be
the
here.
Town
believe
Hall
so.
main meeting room.
Town Hall main meeting room. So come here October 8th to join the discussion about the plan of conservation and development. This is a 10-year plan that we work on revising every year. Just come to the community meeting. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other events they want to talk about in town? All right. Moving on to old business. Last month, if you were watching or you were here, you know that we had an incredible presentation from Representative Ed Deep, who had walked the Woodbridge Country Club with Ben to just look at the environment, look at the space, the species, and things that are present. He did an analysis and a report on that, so I'm going to turn it over to Ben right now to talk about those findings and a brief summary. That report is available for everybody on the website, so we want to make sure if you're looking for it, you can find it there under the Conservation Commission. Go ahead, Ben.
yeah, so like Diana said, we asked Deep to have a look at the country club property, and so they did a pretty thorough report, and I don't think it's available yet. So if anybody's looking, it's not quite on the website yet, but we're working on getting it up there. So if anybody's looking and they don't see it, that's why. So just I can just give some high-level overview of the report, and then I encourage everybody to read it because it's actually a good read and a lot of good information in there. So we've kind of talked about this before, but the country club site is actually a really important habitat at the state level. So it's a really large site of a type of habitat called early successional habitat. So that's a mix of grassland, shrublands, and young forest. So this site is this type of habitat is really important to over 50 species of concern in Connecticut, so there's lots of great resources for wildlife at their country club. There's things like we saw big patches of milkweed monarchs like. There's a lot of shagbark hickories that provide food through their nut mast, and also shelter for things like bats. They like to crawl up underneath the bark and hide there during the day. And then the other interesting thing was that the soil is actually considered a statewide important prime farmland soil. So if for some reason that was ever turned into farmland, that would be a good farm, but obviously we wouldn't want that. So that's sort of the main overall findings. And then I thought what was really useful is they provided a lot of management suggestions. So they can't go as far as actually creating a management plan for us, but they did give kind of a good overview and also some fairly specific things. So one of the main issues with the site, and we just talked about invasive species, is all the invasive species on the site. And the management activity depends on the invasive species. So for example, there were 3 big stands of Japanese knotweed, and they said, and there's a lot of mugwort on the property, and they said, stop mowing that because we're actually mowing it and spreading it. So something like Japanese knotweed and mugwort actually takes some very carefully applied herbicide to get rid of those. And they actually suggested trying to take care of the Japanese knotweed as soon as we can because it's localized right now, but it really takes over once it gets a hold.
So maybe that's a message that we can share to Allison and in the First Selectman's office and get that message over to Public Works if they're doing something. Did they have suggestions on how to eradicate that? Like, is it solarizing it, or? It's
really like you have to either do herbicide or you have to get like a cat in there and like dig out all the roots,
Dig out the
down,
whole system.
3 feet down or something like that.
Is there any chance the varroa mite likes to eat?
Yeah, can we?
There we are.
mugwort?
They can migrate there.
Is that, yeah, does it eat that? Can we, no.
Yeah, there's actually not a biological control for knotweed yet.
Okay.
So I looked into this a little bit. There is one that they're testing in Michigan that they found, in its native range, but I guess it has problems establishing here, so it's not available here yet. But
Okay. So solarizing is when you cover something with like a plastic tarp. It kind of looks like they're doing that over at the pond.
They're experimenting.
Experimenting with pond, okay. Solarizing stuff, is that what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
You cover it with a black tarp, plastic tarp, and then hopefully enough of the heat comes down to kill the plant. Do you know what they're experimenting? Curious. Okay. All right, so that looks like an important message to get
Yeah,
to
and
DPW.
I'll talk a little bit more about invasive species stuff in the member comments as well. So, one of the other management suggestions was there's these these long pine hedgerows, and they actually said we should remove those because what that's doing is that's fragmenting the habitat, which is the open grassland and shrubland, and so a bird that's looking for a nice patch of this type of habitat will see these sort of the fact that it's broken up and maybe pass over it. So that's sort of a really easy thing to do, is just remove those hedgerows. And there's also a lot of netting still, and those are great for catching and killing birds. So we should take those down as quickly as we can.
Wow.
And then, so obviously, to maintain it as a grassland or a shrubland, we need to take some management action. So, they suggested what's called conservation mowing, which is mowing every 2 or 3 years and not mowing straight, sort of weaving around when you're mowing to make it, mimic some natural processes. And then there's a lot of sand traps there, which they also said was like a special type of habitat, and so we should maintain those.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they actually found some species of pine that only lives on sand. It's kind of sandy areas. It's very rare in Connecticut. We found one growing in one of the sand traps, so that was pretty cool.
That's funny.
And then interestingly, there's too many deer. So people may or may not know that but there's not a lot of natural predators for deer anymore, and so now they're sort of like wreaking havoc on the understory. And so the deer go in and they eat all the native plants and they ignore the invasive plants. So that's also something that they suggested we think about how to handle.
Encourage the hunters in town to target, oh dear, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they actually suggested that you could do a bow hunter lottery or something like that. And I know that Duke Forest does that as well. They have bow hunters come in and give them a week to go hunt the deer. But you know, that's only one option.
Okay.
And then finally, there's, they said really think about adaptation for climate change. So the way that this site is currently constructed or structured, it's not really resilient to climate change. That's just because of whatever the species mix is there, and it's not really a mixed age stands. And so we would have to sort of think about how to make that better adapted. And they had a few minor points, but that was something that we want to look into. So in terms of next steps, I think this was a really great report with lots of great recommendations, but even they say that if we want to actually try to maintain this as a really important habitat, which it is, we would need to contract with like a private consulting forester or something like that to make a detailed plan. So, for example, if we're going to mow, when do we mow, where do we mow, what other type of management actions do we do? And then also having this plan in place will help us get grants, if we want to put in for, various grants to help us manage it. And then
A forest management plan, is that what they're saying?
yeah, they said basically a forest management plan. Yeah, so a private consulting forester is what they said.
But then you said once we have a plan like this in place, then it would help us if we wanted to apply for grants
Exactly. Yeah.
to maintain.
So it kind of just shows that we've thought through what we want to do with the property and how we want to maintain the habitat, and that'll just look really good to anybody who wants to give us grants to do certain things.
Did they have any examples of other towns that have used a private forestry company to develop such plans?
They didn't, but they did give us a lot of examples of. I think there's a website where they had a bunch of foresters that we could look at.
Okay.
But I could ask that question and just see if they, if they have that.
Okay. Do you have more to add to your summary?
So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So if we get a plan together, it'll not just help us with grants, but I think it'll help us with sort of a long-term vision for the property.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of things in flux with the property, but it's useful to think about it in terms of the habitat quality.
And conservation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So thanks, Ben. That's incredible. Thank you for, digesting all of that and putting it into.
It was a fun read, actually.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it on the website as soon as we can, and so I encourage everybody to read it.
Story
Gotta
time.
read about
Yep.
5 times.
There's some nice pictures in there
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
You said you've read it about 5 times?
You need to read it about 5 times to,
Yeah.
to absorb all that.
Maybe we can add this to the sustainability series
Yeah.
to dive into that
That's
a
a
bit
great
deeper.
idea.
Yeah. It's story time with Ben.
You had asked Diana about other municipalities that have taken advantage. Looks like there's about $3 million in funding that runs through. This is a quick Google search, so not set in stone. Glastonbury, Winchester, Wethersfield,
Oh wow.
Middletown, New Milford. So, City of Milford. All
Wow,
similar
City of
types of
Milford.
efforts.
My
Yeah.
goodness. That's great.
Yeah, that'd be worth looking into.
Looking into it.
I would think 2 things. I would propose 2 things to the commission. Number 1, I think we should write these recommendations in the format of, a letter of recommendations to the Department of Public Works and to the Board of Selectmen as something that should be considered and implemented right away. Some of these things we can do right away, right? And certainly, whatever the future is to become of that property, what is being recommended right now is all for the betterment of it, regardless of what the fate becomes. I certainly know on the Conservation Commission, you know, we lean towards conservation of that property. And so, you know, it would only help in that direction. I also think my second recommendation to the commission would be that Ben were to meet. I know Mika had talked about us meeting with the consultant who's doing like the feasibility study, but I think it would be important, Ben, since you seem to have a pretty good handle on this, not to add more to your plate, but maybe to meet with the group who's doing, you know, the feasibility study there, and then also this group who's doing the plan of conservation development, the consultant for the Board of Finance, to talk to them about like these are conservation strategies that we should be implementing, you know, in town and specifically at this property, because I know this property is one that they look at a lot in the plan of conservation development. So those would be my recommendations. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, I think those sound good.
A nice courtesy telling them we've done this due diligence, here's what we think should happen, here's our recommendation, look at the report, and showing that we're being proactive.
Right. And even if, you know, you couldn't attend all of them, maybe another, you know, representative who has a pretty good handle on that could. So,
Yeah, I think if a few of us were involved in this, and then we can cover, you know, when some people can't, so.
yeah,
it'd be
cover the
good.
ground. Definitely those three things, you know, writing list of recommendations of things that we can do, you know, this fall at the property versus like what should be implemented over the winter or what should be implemented in the spring, you know, this like zigzag conservation mowing, even just taking a walk around to identify some of the stuff that, you know, you saw on the property, like the sand trap. Who would have thought that, you know?
We're also avoiding the invasive, you shouldn't cut it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an
Avoiding,
important
yeah,
thing.
that's got to be key. Like, you recommend this conservation mowing, you want to make sure you're mowing the right stuff, not the wrong
Exactly.
stuff, and just spreading it. So that's super interesting.
Because I know they do love to cut it off when they cut.
Well, they may not know what they're cutting. They
This
don't know
is
what they're doing. Okay, so I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion that we write up recommendations and to submit to Department of Public Works and the Board of Selectmen to be considered for implementation right away. And
I so move that.
okay, that's the first one. Barbara was first.
I'll second.
Okay, Rachel seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, great. My second recommendation is that we meet with the, somebody plans to meet with the feasibility, the consultant doing the feasibility study over at the country club, and we need to get a meeting with the group who's doing the plan of conservation development with the Board of Finance. So is anybody available to attend the the October 8th meeting?
I think I do that.
You think you'll be there?
I think I will.
Okay, so that would be great. We could have something written up that you could say at that meeting. Nothing else, right? I don't know if it's public comment. I don't really know what the format's going to be at that meeting, but I think we should have a statement prepared regarding that. I'm also curious about like the forest management plan and just sort of investigating what that would be. If we were going to present that to the Board of Selectmen, we probably have to have a pretty solid understanding of what the scope would be, what the cost would be, and the timeline would be, right? Does anybody have time in our completely not busy schedules to investigate the next steps of a forest management plan potential and a private forester?
I feel like I can look into that.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'll look into it.
All right. And and just an idea of like what scope would be, and what, you know, the towns have spent on it. Rachel, you mentioned a few of them, maybe you can share with them.
Yep.
You know, if you found contacts when you were looking
Yep.
at that as well. All right, does anybody else have anything else they wanna discuss on the deep report regarding, the site visit and the report on the Woodbridge Country Club? Great job, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Great
Good
job.
job spearheading that.
Well,
Wow.
thank David, Irvin, and Tanner for writing a great report.
Yeah, absolutely. Big thank you to Deep. We should send them a thank you note. Absolutely, they were great. All right, so we're moving on to our next item, which is the Westward Road Scenic Road designation. We did get an update from Allison this afternoon.
Which I couldn't open, so I don't know what the letter says.
I can read it, but you want me to read that first?
Sure.
Okay, so attached is the approved letter template on letterhead. This includes the revisions made by the town council. Please note this message. My comments indicate that the letter should be addressed to each individual homeowner, so the CC should be prepared to make those edits. So I'm guessing they're talking about us, so, you know, our commission should be prepared to make those edits. You will need to edit those details as well as the deadline for the submissions. So Allison has attached that here, which we can share with Kathy. You can post it with the minutes for this meeting, if that would be all right. Sorry, what? Yeah.
And if you could send me a copy post haste, I would.
And we just, we have it in a Word document, so we just need the names of the folks who live on.
Which we have.
Okay,
already.
perfect. And their address, we just need to update the letter, copy with all of, you know, each individual person, and then we can
Right.
drop it off. All right, so do you want me to read it out loud? We are your members of the Conservation Commission for the town of Woodbridge, and we are asking for your written consent to allow us to designate Westwood Road as a scenic road. This is a short but historical, rich and beautiful lane along with many of its buildings. It has been part of our town forever and for over 200 years. I don't want to give the rest of it away, but it's about, you know, cherry trees, some of the unique early trees that were planted, the Stoddard family, some of the history on the road, and the rest of it will be included in the minutes. As I said, I don't want to give it away. So we just need to figure out what that deadline is that we want them to respond back to the town by. Do we know what that is?
I don't think we have set one. I can say at this moment that I have spoken, because of being in the library and meeting these people, I've spoken, I think now to 3 or 4 of the residents. It just comes up because that's their address.
Does it have to be a majority of them?
It has to be a majority of them, yes. It doesn't have to be all of them, just a majority. And there are 12, I think. I think it's 12, it might be 13. Anyway, I have just casually spoken to 3 or 4, and they, to a person, they are really excited about the idea. And one of them even suggested, she said that they have a block party with all the residents. And why don't you all come to the block party?
What day
talk
is
to us
that?
about it. Now, I'm not sure when their next one is,
Okay.
but I can certainly find out, but maybe,
That would be an efficient way of doing it.
yeah, 2
Go
or
to
3
the
of us.
party
could-
with a stack of
Right.
papers and some pens and,
If they're having one in the
yeah.
near future, I think it would be a really good way to get to everybody and get, I don't know, a discussion going and so forth.
Back to the deadline question though, have we heard back from UI and did Mika make
No.
any progress? Okay,
No.
cause that would kind of
Nothing.
dictate how fast we need to move, whether they've
No,
got,
but they have been in town.
they have
They
been.
certainly
I
have.
just
Have
don't
been
know what their
doing
plan
a lot
is.
of work. I don't know if everybody saw on the green here, the 2 big trees
Yeah.
on the end of the green,
Yeah.
taken out completely,
For no reason.
for no reason.
Whether it, how long it will work, I'm not sure, but Mika did send notice to them not to touch that road until advised otherwise.
Oh,
So whether they will hang on to that and abide by it, or how long they will abide by it, put it that way. I'm not sure. But I think we need to get this letter out and work and move forward pretty quickly.
Okay.
Does anybody have a suggestion for the deadline?
I'm trying to find National Tree Day. No, I'm not getting anything. Okay. My suggestion would be, well, I don't know if we could do it by the end of September, or if we want to try to do it by the end of October,
I think the end of
or
October is
middle
more
of
realistic.
October.
We're talking about collecting these letters back. Right?
Yeah.
End of October.
So the nice thing is you go out there with the letter, and it says, the second page of the letter is, please complete and return this by the deadline, by email here, or mail to the town hall, Conservation Commission, So we should have, and I'm happy to donate these, the envelopes and the stamps and whatever, and we can offer, if the residents would like, we can take them with us and either drop them in the mail, or we can have them, scan this and email back over to the town hall.
Let me inquire and see whether they are gonna have a block party,
Yeah.
because that would make it very fast.
Sure does. Or look out Westward Road, we'll see you this weekend. Just kidding. Okay. Nice job, Barbara. And team who worked on that. Any other questions or comments on the Westward Scenic Road designation? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Connecticut Deep Trails Grant. All right. Seems like Val, you have an update for us since Sharon's not here.
Sharon's not here, okay. Well, I had written 2 letters, and I would, if it's okay, I'd like to read one of them. And I also want to say first that Barbara is really wonderful, because Barbara knows a lot of people that can help facilitate things, and she knows exactly where to go. But just to put this all in context, I will, if you don't mind, I'll just read the letter. Okay.
Sure.
Oops. Okay. In March 2024, Governor Lamont, through Connecticut's DEEP, offered $14 million in grants for municipalities, nonprofits, and towns for the improvement and enhancement of trails. The Conservation Committee of our town, Woodbridge, applied for the grant and was awarded $9,000. While most of the grants centered around the issue of trail improvement, our grant specifically focused on education, and we were subsequently one of the few awardees awarded an educational grant for trail enhancement. The grant itself acknowledged the various forms of learning and sought to make the town's vast trailway system a kinetic and tactile educational experience. The Historical Society of Woodbridge had embarked on an initiative in the spring of 2023. The goal of this initiative was to highlight specific historical sites on our trailway system and to offer a walkthrough education of these sites utilizing QR scans. The grant submitted to DEEP sought to further enhance this educational trail walkthrough initiative by incorporating appropriate lesson plans along with the implementation of QR scans. This is an innovative initiative of which we were all very excited. The objectives of this grant will allow trail users, families, students, visitors to use their phones to scan QR codes on various sign postings and read the historical narrative. In preparation for the trail visit, the user will also be able to download a lesson plan prepared by a certified educator. Woodbridge has been known for its meritorious educational system And we are requesting that Woodbridge's Board of Education and Superintendent embrace this initiative and partner with the Woodbridge Historical Society, the Woodbridge Conservation Committee, and other stakeholders by providing an administrative point person for this initiative. Specifically, we are requesting that this point person assist with the following. 1, collaborate with the Historical Society and the Conservation Committee on the already identified sites. 2, identify the specific educators that can assist with the lesson plan preparation. The lesson plan should include an integrated approach for each site, including visual art, music, sound, history, geography, language arts, ecology, and science. The point person should review the lesson plans and identify the appropriate grade levels and make any necessary modifications. The point person will be able to reach out to other educators in surrounding areas for appropriate lesson plans. And then I have timeline. The point person should be identified, as of October 1st. The lesson plans will be accessed through a portal on the Historical Society website. Again, this is an innovative initiative which we are proud to not only launch, but serve as a model for other towns who seek to use their trails as educational opportunities. So this is the part of the lesson plan part that Barbara has already identified an appropriate person. She's given me a contact so we can do that part of it. And then also Barbara is helping to identify the historical sites. And I believe, I don't know if it was Barbara or Sharon trying to also address the graphic arts. So there's different moving parts to this. And what we felt that if we all work together, it wouldn't be so onerous on any one particular person, and just attack this from each one take a different part of this, rather than one person trying to do everything.
So do it collaboratively, and it's nice because then all the parties working together all have some ownership in it and will
Right.
help get the message out once it's up and running. So have you already identified an educational person to help?
Yes, Barbara, I went to the library and I saw Barbara, we were talking. And so Barbara just gave me the phone number today.
That's the problem when you work right there.
Right,
They all
so I
find you.
told Barbara it would be at the meeting, but, so I did speak to Barbara.
Okay, so
Already.
there's identified, not somebody necessarily who's gonna do, but somebody who could be a strong candidate to support the project from the
Yeah.
educational partners in town.
Are we thinking just the Woodbridge district, or are we thinking like perhaps the high school where this could become a student-led project in collaboration with their administrators?
Yeah.
I think
Not
that's
to put you on the
probably,
spot, you just showed up today, but.
Yeah, the lesson plans though, I don't know if that was part of the grant though, I think we did put down certified teachers to do the lesson plans. But
I
of
can't
course, they
remember
certainly
'cause I
can
haven't
be
seen
part
it
of,
so long.
part of it.
So you can also, have somebody start creating lesson plan, collect the content, build
Right.
some of the information, and then have, the final certified, teacher put the final touches on it to make sure it's where it needs to be. But doing that, some of the legwork on the content of the material and the information in the background.
well, in point of fact, we have not totally, we're starting out with 10 sites. As we tried for in the grant. And I have identified at this point, 2 people who are going to be working on the Native American stone serpent, who are very versed in that field. And by the way, this Sunday, we're gonna go for a walk to see this serpent, so if anybody wants to go, about 11 o'clock
What
in the
time are you
morning.
leaving, where are you meeting?
About 11 o'clock in the morning at Simon Donato's greenhouse. You know where that is?
Alright.
On Amity Road.
Okay, which greenhouse on?
Well, it's up, right, literally on the border of
Gardens, right? Not Amity Gardens.
No, not Amity
Amity
Gardens.
Florist.
It's on the end of, what's the, Round Hill Road. I mean, the sign that says Bethany is right there across the street from
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. I'm trying to think of what the florist is named right there.
Oh, it's,
It was Amity Florist, right, at one
yes,
time?
it was at some point, yeah. I've also,
So meet in that parking lot at 11 o'clock on Sunday if you wanna go hiking with Barbara.
right, yeah, it's not much of a hike. It's
Walking
right
with
off the
Barbara.
road, but it would be fun to see this pointed out.
What is it? Some
It's a,
stones?
it's a Native American stone serpent,
Oh, wow.
big head, goes around like that,
Oh, very cool.
yeah, but they're fun. Didn't know we had any around here.
Yeah.
So that's one. In addition, Muffy German and I went to a lecture in Woodbury right after the flood. And heard a man who's spent countless years studying the charcoal pits around the state, of which there are thousands, I guess, and he was giving a lecture on that, which is a wonderful lecture, which we, the Historical Society, have invited him to give that lecture at our annual meeting, so anybody that comes to the annual meeting can come and hear the lecture, or they can avoid the annual meeting and come to hear the lecture anyway. It probably will be in the meeting room at the library. And it will be somewhere around the 20th of November.
So you'll have to give us the exact date on that for next meeting. Let us know, what's happening, the exact.
Right, I can do that. Anyway, he will be writing the one on the charcoal pits around town, of which there are some in Elderslie area, and there's some in various Bladensburg area, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll pick the one that's most, viewable, shall we say, and do it on that. And the rest of them are going to be written by, various members of the society board.
The lesson plans?
Not the lesson plans, these are
The stories.
the stories,
Okay.
the historic
Okay.
stories, which
Neat.
is the first thing we'll be getting. So
Okay.
that's well on its way.
Do we have funding set aside to create, I can't remember what the details of the grant submission were, funding set aside to create the lesson plans?
This is what I can't remember either.
I don't remember.
So I'd have to look and see whether we have any set aside, yeah.
That's what we talked
Um,
about, maybe $50 a lesson. Even if we started off with 10, we would have, $500. It wouldn't be that cost prohibitive.
Sure.
Some people may already have lesson plans depending on what the topic is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be some that are open source that you can use. Okay.
The other part of this is the actual signage and the connection of the QRs to the,
Yeah.
and, the person whom I spoke, to about doing that has kind of been incognito for a few months, but they have surfaced and said, do we still want them?
Oh,
And I've said yes.
Good.
So, that's a go too. I haven't gotten anywhere with them yet, but we shall plan a meeting.
so we're all set with the timeline for the grant and everything
Yeah,
that
I think we
need to
have
do?
until next year sometime to do it.
Oh, good, okay. All right, nice work. Any other updates on the deep trails? It's very exciting.
I think.
Nice job.
Good.
All right, next. Updates from the Coopop meeting. Well, our Woodbridge Conservation Commission member was supposed to attend Coopop and they did not. Something came up, I'm guessing. So we did not have somebody there. They have another meeting coming up on the 23rd of September. Not sure if anybody's available to attend that. But it will be here at 6 p.m. and their agenda is not out yet. Is anyone available for that?
What's the day of the week?
Monday. It's Monday. I feel like it's always the Monday following our meetings.
I can't confirm, but I can, I will certainly attend,
Okay,
but I can't confirm it until I see my calendar,
until you see your calendar, okay, so,
which I didn't do.
I feel like maybe even Sharon said, she might be available. Sharon or Barbara, okay. Thank you. Planning, conservation, and development, so the update that came out this week is that there's gonna be a community meeting in October. I met with Sharon before she left on vacation, and we all have a copy of the Plan of Conservation and Development. Everybody still has their copy? That wonderful thing we all wanna read. I'm gonna pull it up real quick on my laptop. I apologize to everybody who is not here with me. But I'm bringing it up for a good reason, which I'll tell you in a second. I just can't talk and type at the same time. That's the open house flyer. All right, I'm looking for it. The Plan of Conservation and Development has a couple of sections in there that we think are important for us to read, for us as a commission. So I just want to call out what those are, and I hate to assign homework assignments, but maybe if we have time, either we can divide and conquer and everybody can take a different chapter, or we can all just try to commit to reading them all. This is the one I'm looking for. The Woodbridge Plan of Conservation Development was 2015. That's the last time they updated it. That's why we're getting ready to update it again. It's a state statute. We have to update them every 10 years. So we don't need to read all 161 glorious pages of this document, but we should look at a couple of areas in particular. Chapter 5, Natural Resources, on page 73. Chapter 6, Open Spaces. And it may seem like a lot of pages, and for those of us who don't like to read, there's a lot of pictures. It's a picture book. For Barbara, this one is kind of like an overlap, Chapter 7, which is Historic and Community Resources. And then Chapter 8, which is Sustainability. And then 132 was the future, the next page that they talk about was Future Land Use Plan and the Action Agenda. So I think that's important for us to take a look at. And it should be relatively easy. I'm trying to get to not the build out, but let's see if it brings me to. All right, so like Chapter 5, Natural Resources, we're already starting off with some big pictures in there, so just to give everybody a little heads up.
So effectively, everything between page 73 and wherever 132 ends,
Yeah, yeah.
which isn't very much, really.
No, it's really not, and we've got a lot of, I promise you, a lot of pictures in there. There's some geological formation surveys, and they talk about soil conditions both as a resource and a constraint. We're looking at sensitive soils, wetlands and farmlands, the topography of the land, so this is a lot on the natural resources. And then when we get into open space, they dive in. They're also at the end of every chapter, sorry, before I cut myself off, at the end of every chapter, like natural resources, there's an action plan, right? And there are what's ongoing action, what's near-term action, and then there should be some long-term in there. Then you go into the open space plan, and it's the same thing. They talk about open land, that's municipally managed, so the town owns it and manages it. the water authority, regional water authority. Some areas that are open space that have no protection because they're privately owned by somebody. So I think it's important just to take a look at it. The green plan is in here. And distribution of our open space protections. So I think it's interesting to take a look at here, because we are talking already about, you know, particular lands. As you know, COOPUP is evaluating certain lands. We want to make sure we've got some of this information as good reference for us when we go through it. So if everybody can take that homework assignment, we have it printed. We also have it electronically. I'll send it to everybody again electronically after this. Make sure we include it in our minutes as well. And yeah, it'll prepare us also for the conversation with the POCD community meeting. Yeah.
In terms of the ongoing activity, I know there's a lot going on with the Toll Brothers development, but now I see additional land being cleared, like in the next, like right next to it. Is that also,
That's
Part
theirs.
of toll.
that's also, so what, does anybody have the total number of
Unit.
these condo units that are, I thought it originally was gonna be 60 or something, so is this another
Like
phase
take,
two, or is this the
we
same
have
one?
an answer from the audience.
Phase two, the total, so I think the first side is 39, so the second side is, the total 70.
70?
70, so they're leveling it now, they were thinking they weren't gonna start the second side actually building to the very end of the year, beginning of next year, but these are selling and they're moving right along, so.
So 70 for both together? both
Together,
sides.
the whole project is 70.
So 31 left.
With the community, their community clubhouse, with the first section, there's a big pool and.
It's all the same type of houses?
Yes. Yeah,
Townhouses, right?
yeah. Either, I think there's not a lot of threes together, but there's like 3 together or 4 together. For the townhouses, yeah. I guess they're selling really well.
Oh, I see them. I see them in the MLS, I didn't know.
Yep.
I can see them.
Okay. All right.
May I just ask the other thing? And are they all being, if you're aware, are they all being they're being sold at market price or below market, or?
I've seen from just like if you were to look up, you know, Zillow, actually when the things come over, I would say anywhere from 5 might be a little, it might be low, I don't think they're lower than 500 to like
You're like 6, I
700,
think.
800, depending. I think depending if they add extras, the people that are buying them, that kind of thing.
Great. I'd like to thank them for adding those affordable units to our town. Tick that box for us. Okay, so back to the conservation, the plan of conservation development. If everybody could take some time just to read through that one before our next meeting, that would be great. And also before the October meeting, if anybody can attend that October meeting on the new plan, the community meeting, we can, you know, discuss what our findings are. I'm not going to go so far as to say we need a special meeting to discuss it, although Sharon thought maybe that might not be a bad idea. I want to run everybody's night by saying that, so. We'll just keep in touch. If everybody has questions about it, let me know. Okay, new business. Woodbridge Like Me Day, on to fun stuff. So, I mentioned before, that's coming up on October 5th. Are we interested in tabling again and doing our town quiz? You won't be here.
I won't be.
Okay. All right. I think it's only 2 hours, right? 11 to 2 something? Yes, 11 to 2. So maybe everybody could take an hour shift. Or I guess the first question is, do we have enough people who are actually going to be here?
I'll be here and I can table if somebody wants to make the quiz.
Well, we have that quiz, and I think maybe we should try to bring it down to at least like a single sheet of paper, if that's all right, just from like a conservation perspective.
And make the questions harder.
Okay.
Yeah, pop quizzes. Maybe we should integrate it into our 10 sites that we're about to get.
Oh,
It's a good idea.
think that-
Very good
Use
idea.
it to update folks to let them know that we're gonna be doing
That's an
these
idea,
QR
yes.
codes, and maybe we can include, the Varroa mite on there as well.
That definitely.
I think that's an
That
interesting
was
one.
good, though.
And something about the sand trap, definitely some of the findings from.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
we should
this-
put, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna task Val and Ben,
I can make a
Barbara,
We can all
to
contribute.
everybody,
Yeah,
everybody
I'll
can,
make a couple
everybody can
questions.
Bring a
contribute.
question.
Why don't we all
Couple of-
just
couple of new
focus on
questions.
having the questions, I can type them up if somebody can, if you wanted to just give me the questions, if you wanna do it that way. We'd have them all there.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, everybody wanna take a 3 or 4
Everyone has to submit
questions?
two or three questions, or 4.
Hey, 2 to 4,
2 to 4.
okay. Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll take the sustainability, elements of the town, see if I can add those in there.
Will Sharon bring her tables again, or can we discuss that through email? Like how,
I have a couple of tables and
Okay.
chairs too.
I can be there that day as well.
Can anybody be there to set up? I'm gonna say Diana and Sharon can be here.
Sharon's set up before, she knows.
Yeah, yeah.
You know the drill. And then,
She's not here, you can,
oh, yeah, oh, Joy's not here too. Joy can take the
Right,
next
Joy.
shift. So, I don't know, anybody wanna come at 12, 12:30?
Remember last year we had a move, Diane? I don't know if you were there early. We actually moved the table, but we found it was we had more traffic once so we literally moved.
Was that the Earth Day event?
Yeah. Was that Earth Day?
Earth Day, we moved up the hill from like the
Oh, you're
community
right.
We're
center.
in the wind tunnel.
Right, okay.
Right, yeah, we're not.
I could do 12:30 or so.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll send out a little schedule. I'm gonna say no, Barbara. You are not there that day. Okay, next, all right, we already talked about the sorry? Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to ask you about that. The next item on the agenda is our 2025 year Woodbridge Conservation Commission meeting schedule review. So I went through and I absolutely referenced no other calendars other than just the dates to say the third Thursday of the month. So I'm sure these conflict with holidays and all sorts of things. Like I'm looking at June 19th right now, just stuck out is Juneteenth, so we're not gonna meet then. But if everybody could take a second and just look at your schedules, look at school schedules, sports schedules, religious houses schedules, if there are holidays, if there are things that
we
compete.
don't usually meet in August.
That's right, does everybody agree we'd like to take August off again?
Yes.
This year? Off, okay, August meeting will be, no meeting that month, okay. And then for the June one, do we wanna try to meet the week before? Because everybody's gonna head out to, vacation, maybe
Vacation.
June 12th? Can't recall if that's the last day of school at Beecher. Or the high
Pull
school.
up the calendar.
Let's make sure it's not a graduation date.
It may be.
High school is June 10th? Okay. Well, you guys should know, because you're counting the days, right? Okay. And we just need to make sure that that's not another committee meeting then. So you don't have to answer right now, but just take some time. And if you notice that there is an issue with one of the dates that's on here, just send an email to everybody about the agenda that we had last time, for this meeting, about those dates, okay? I think even actually in December, this year, we moved our meeting up to the second Thursday, just so we weren't conflicting with holiday travel.
Yeah.
I can't recall though, because we haven't been there yet. So as an option, if we didn't want to do the 18th, we could try December 11th. Again, I have no idea what holidays that's gonna conflict with, so put that out there as an option. the 11th or the 18th. Okay. That's it on the Conservation Commission meeting schedule that is drafted. We'll review it and compare it to all of the calendars that we all know in town, and come back to talk about it next time. The last thing under new business is there's a proposed new development of 88 units to be developed on Fountain Street.
Do you know the address for that?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to look up that, but
It's right,
It's not yet. Nothing's been,
But
nothing's really been put in yet.
Nothing really has been,
People are talking, but no,
there's a conversation happening about it.
right.
that's not this one, is it?
That's why you probably can't find anything, because
That's not
nothing's
even
been
in
official.
Woodbridge, is
no.
it?
Is
Yeah.
the one like across the street, right? On Fountain Street, like near the reservoir?
I think so.
I think, yeah, and it is, from my understanding, it is.
Reservoir, you mean Bishops?
there is a for sale sign over there. Up for land,
I think the group who owns it is looking to possibly develop 88 units there.
The, it's right next to Bishop's Pond, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
What
Bishop's
type of
Pond,
units?
where is
Do we
that?
know anything else?
We do not. I mean, we've heard before low income,
Where is that?
and then
So, yeah.
have had organizations
Is this
decide they're
one?
gonna develop other things, so you don't know really, right? What's in there?
So it's right in here.
Oh, they want to put it here? Oh, boy.
What's the proximity to?
I can't hear you.
I think-
Same
There's
side.
nothing
On
set,
right
you know,
here?
nothing's been,
Oh.
it's talk, nothing's been proposed yet, nothing's gone to the, even the first step yet. It's just talk, people are talking.
Talking loud enough so Sharon can hear them, so Sharon knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is
So-
the town owns the land, or who owns the land?
I think it's privately owned right
Privately
now.
owned?
I can tell you in 2 seconds.
But we do have that list of all of our properties, right?
I think.
I can tell you in about, as soon as I can get this. There we go.
So would you say now it's just land, or you don't, is it land
It's
now?
this, right.
Is it across from Park Lane, like next to where
This
that
one right here.
Yeah.
modern almost house by the water is, like near the Woodbridge Country Club property, like
Well, it says
Yes, it's
near
not
the
far.
it says it's
Does
owned by the
anybody have
land
the
trust.
address?
Oh, then I'm pointing to the wrong one, sorry.
We don't have the address, and unfortunately, Sharon is out of town
That's it.
right now.
Fountain
But her big
Street, Fountain
concern about
Fountain-
this,
Fountain Street Associates, it's a name.
So it's
Fountain
right-
Street Associates. Yeah, her
So-
big concern is that, obviously, there would be disturbing a lot of land, and they'd be increasing the amount of, impervious surface right near a water body. So there'd be,
It's between Greeley's or Bishop's Pond and the Parkway. It's right next to the Yale.
The golf, was it where the, oh, yes.
Well, they're preserving, where they put the road to take all the trees off the golf course. They put a road right through their conservation
I heard about it too,
area.
from the New Haven side,
Yeah, that's on New Haven, it's right on the line.
yeah.
New Haven. I've got it up here on the GMS.
so the property is in New Haven or the property?
No, property
Phrase in
in
Woodbridge.
Woodbridge, yeah, right on the line,
Hmm.
right above it.
so pretty close to Woodfield Road,
Yeah, if you can
Not
see.
far.
not far, so near where there
Well-
could be potential.
Yeah, Greeley's is, the pond, or Bishop's, whatever you wanna call it, is on Woodfield, and then this is next to that, on the New Haven side, goes right to the town line.
So I apologize that I don't have any other information. I just was requested to put this on the agenda. So thanks for looking into that. It does look like it's in Woodbridge. Sharon's main concern was that, obviously from conservation of natural resources and increased impervious surface, right? So we would have an issue with increased stormwater runoff, right? It wouldn't be.
It's right on the hill. It's 5.59 acres,
5.9 acres.
5.59,
So 5.5.
5.5, yeah.
And already exists public sewer and public water over there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, yep. So we'll learn more before our next one. Any other comments on that?
Not for this room.
Can you, Kathy, can you let us know, can you notify us if something is submitted on behalf of this property, please?
And I'll get a date tomorrow.
Great, appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind circulating that to the
Absolutely.
Christian, and then we'll
Send it to everybody.
add it to our minutes. All right, with that, we turn to exciting number 7, member comments. Do any members have any comments at this time?
Oh, I do have one comment. Let me pull this up. So this is something that's come up a bunch of times, even in this meeting. The issue of invasive species, our favorite type of species. So Woodbridge does not have an invasive species plan. But I learned that we don't need to feel bad about that because I contacted the Connecticut Invasive Species Working Group and asked, if I could, see an example of another of Connecticut's plan, and she said she's never heard of a town in Connecticut that has an invasive species plan. So
Nothing like being the first.
yeah. So I think it's a good idea to have one. A lot of these discussions we have revolve around how do we manage invasive species, and so I think it's good to sort of think it through holistically. And then I think just the fact that other towns don't have one, this is a good opportunity for us to provide some statewide leadership in this area.
Thanks.
So yeah, I would volunteer to try to spearhead that, and then somewhat related, the person that I talked to from the working group said there is a meeting of the Connecticut Association of Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission in November. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but she said that a lot of other conservation commissions go to this meeting.
Sharon and I went
And,
to it.
oh,
You guys
okay.
went last year, right?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you guys know about it then.
What's the date on it?
Sometime in November, I don't know. And it didn't look like there were details yet about, how to register and stuff like that when I looked.
Yeah,
but-
typically there's an email that comes out and they forward it to us.
Okay.
But if you're interested in attending, that would be great.
Maria
Yeah, it might
Kane
be,
is a
yeah.
big one.
But-
It's a good meeting.
It's a really good one.
There are a lot of breakout sessions that are in it.
But so yeah, I think some sort of invasive species plan would be a good idea.
I think that's a
Can I ask you a question, Ben,
Wonderful idea.
about your comment? Would there be like a educational partner, college or university that we could work with on to do like a capstone research project to help us develop one of these in the state? Because I know at my grad school we did capstone projects for towns related to sustainability at no charge, and you would get a whole team, grad students for a semester to work on whatever type of plan or project you were looking to do. For example, in Brantford, we did a coastal resiliency plan.
That would be fantastic. I hadn't thought about how to actually acquire a plan, other than the fact that we need one.
Well, and if we have one,
But yeah, if we could have somebody that could work on this, that'd be great.
like, does the School of Forestry have, are the students required to do projects or anything like that? The final capstone, like, field kind of project?
Yeah, I don't know. I could look into it.
I bet Joy has some ideas based on her expertise.
Yeah.
Not to sign her up for something, but
No, I mean, she's not here,
She's-
so that's,
perfect.
Yeah, it'd be nice if this was sort of a committee, a subcommittee or
Right.
something, that we could, and that we could sort of work on it outside of the meeting and then come and give updates and stuff.
yeah, the capstone project, we would be developing, like, if we were gonna work with Columbia, we would develop our capstone project now, our framework of it, and the students could choose if they wanted to select it for the winter, or the spring semester.
Mhm.
There'd be no guarantee that they would take that on. I just don't know like Yale or, you know, Quinnipiac or Southern or even UConn, you know, Eastern, any of those organizations, any of those universities do something.
Yeah, it's a
like
good
that.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
no, I
we
think
can
it's
partner with
excellent
other
idea.
Mhm.
stakeholders that have the same interests that we do.
Right.
Spread the work.
Looks like the state of New York has one, but it's pretty outdated. It's like from 2018.
Yeah, I think the states
The
have
state
them,
levels have
but I
them.
don't think it gets down to like the municipal level.
Right.
And what would be a benefit of having it at a municipal level is that would be something that would help inform and guide DPW, right? And it could be a collaboration of, you know, who would be the stakeholders that would want to weigh in on this, like the land trust, the trails, the trail master, Parks and Rec. We have, you know, probably a huge number.
Public Works.
Yeah, DPW, right. Okay. All right, more homework assignments.
It's
We can
all
maybe,
fun.
yeah, put together an idea of a scope for that. That would be cool. It's an invasive species management eradication, right? Am I saying that word right? Eradication.
Or management.
Or
Management.
probably management's a better, yeah. They're probably all not going away.
Less scary.
Okay.
Didn't
Any
say
other
we're never
member
gonna get rid of them?
comments?
Yeah, I will never get rid of
We'll
them.
never get rid of them, so. You can't eradicate.
It was interesting though about the I think my comment would be it was super interesting to learn about the nets and the harm that they're causing, that they're still up.
That they're up still, I can't
That's what's
believe it.
interesting. That was interesting. Does anyone else have a comment? I think that like that's something we should just bring up right away.
Bring a scissor.
So,
Yeah.
I do have a related, I guess this is sort of similar, but I was also in contact with somebody who does biocontrols for invasive species at the Connecticut Agricultural Extension.
Oh, nice.
So she said that they do have a biocontrol for hemlock woody adelgid and a biocontrol for mile a minute weed. And so that's available. You know, it's been sort of like blessed by the state of Connecticut that we can acquire those and release them, or you know, have some sort of education program for the townspeople if they want to release them on their property. So that might also be something that we could look into. And I mean, this is the sort of thing that would go into the larger plan, but we can also start to do stuff like this as it comes up.
Nice.
Do we have a lot of mile a minute around?
I'm not sure. I know it's a Connecticut problem, but I don't know if we have it here.
I don't remember ever seeing it around here, but I certainly could be wrong.
Look into it. Any other member comments? Anything else? Seen anything around town you want to talk about?
There's a great exhibit at the library right now. I don't know whether
On
Samuel Martin came up with the idea. People are just bringing in I can't remember what the word is. It's not recollections, but anyway, mostly it's photographs or paintings. There's some, and it's going on for 2 months, and you can bring in things again towards the 1st of October. Things that you love about the country club property.
Oh.
So there are paintings, there's poetry, there's kids' drawings, there are photographs of, you know, the sledding and so forth and
Oh,
so on.
that's cute.
Yeah, so, and anywhere, I can't tell you the exact date, but it's around the 1st of October. You can call the library and get the date. They're not gonna necessarily change it, but they're adding to it, maybe taking a couple of things down and putting things up for the next
So
month.
things you love about the Woodbridge Country Club?
Yeah, just
Cool.
things that you, it's not memories, it's reflections, is the word.
Okay.
Reflections on the Woodbridge Country Club.
Nice.
So we've got like 4 sort of reports on the country club. You think we could get like printouts and
Absolutely.
You know,
I-
just
we
put 'em there
talked
for
about
people to
that, and-
browse,
And
yeah.
you were looking in to see whether we could,
Oh, the answer is yes.
oh, the answer is yes,
Yeah.
then we'll print them out
Yeah.
and
Oh,
put
yeah,
them
whether
out.
or not we could share that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for people to read. No,
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing that, you know, just information about it or your own
Yeah, I think that'd be
reflections.
great. They're looking at these nice pictures and then there's some information they can,
Yeah.
you know, look
Can I
at.
also recommend that we have those reports viewed through QR code, so if people don't wanna stand there, they can scan the QR code about the report and take it home and continue reading it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna look into getting all those reports posted on the website. So
Cool.
I think only one of them is. I think only the Autobahn report is on the website. But if we can get the other 3 on there, then, or have a little section, country club section where we put those or something, then that would be great.
Who manages the website?
Who manages it?
Our
The
commission
website?
Who updates it and?
Somebody in the town, Tony?
No.
Yeah, so I'm in contact with someone.
I don't know who's the head of
They
IT.
just emailed me
Yeah.
today and said they'll talk to me about it, so,
Who is that?
uh,
Probably Tony, right?
I think so.
It's-
She handles the-
Tony,
She just
Tony
walked by.
Valinsky?
Yeah.
Really? She handles the website?
it's not Tony.
Yes or no, I mean, so it used to be Betsy Yadla.
Maybe Allison.
Allison, Mike, Karen, maybe. One of those three. I mean, I can find
One of
some.
those guys.
So I know Tony, I mean,
It's,
for the newsletter, she always asks people to
Right.
send her stuff.
Right,
It was Allison that contacted me,
okay.
Okay.
so,
Okay, so she might be taking that.
yeah, maybe she's the point person now.
Right
But if
person
you
for
can
it.
get,
Yeah, it changes.
you
Yeah.
can print out, have hard copies
Mm-hmm.
in there, I think that would be a wonderful idea.
Yeah, if we could sort of have both, like, here's where to get it online to download it, here's
Right.
a hard copy for you to look
Right.
at here,
Right.
then that would be
I'd
great.
be happy to print something, like Staples
I
or
can too.
Kinko's or something.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Kathy, that is
Double-sided.
Kathy's
They can do
specialty.
Double-sided, and maybe put a clip on it and not staple it, depending how many pages. If I got the big
binders,
stapler,
maybe binders
Oh.
people can flip through. Can you 3-hole punch?
You got all that, so.
You do.
You let me know what you want, Diana, and I'll produce.
It's not what I want, it's what the town
Okay.
wants. It's what Ben wants.
Yeah, we have the, you know.
Now you know where to get them all done.
Okay, so yeah, I'll get the reports together, I'll get them over to you, and then we can get them printed and get them out to the
And
And
library.
get them to me.
Okay,
And we can put those in any time, that doesn't have to be at the 1st of October.
And then so,
Mm-hmm.
we want to get them printed, then we also want to get a QR code printed for each of the reports, so people can reference them to whenever they live on the website, that would be
Yeah, well, we
great.
have to get them on the
That would be
website before you
Okay.
do that, right?
Cool.
I was just about to ask, what are people's thoughts about networking with other conservation groups? Not necessarily meeting them, but just kind of sharing information, because some of these topics involve, especially invasive species, that's a statewide problem, and
Yeah.
maybe somehow, I went to the River Festival, which is on Quinnipiac, and they had a tent, and their tent was about rainwater and how the residue from our land is going into the river, so
And
there's
creating
a lot
algae
of, there's a
blooms.
lot of conservation, even if we just share information, or if they're having a festival, and we can hear about what's New Haven doing, what's Branford doing, and, and they also have a very nice Audubon Society in New Haven, and they do things there, so there's a lot of things in the area, just wanted to know was there anything stopping us from kind of like networking with other conservation groups, or even hearing about their activities?
No,
and
in that
sharing?
meeting that Ben was talking about, the, Council of Inland Wetland and Conservation Commission, their annual meeting, that is a really great place to meet a lot of those groups from all the other towns.
yeah, on Earth Day, Bethany had, the Conservation Commission had a booth.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that seems like a good group to get to know because we have such shared,
Right.
shared spaces.
And I should have also said that the Bethany Sustainability Committee is co-hosting the sustainability series with us, both towns. Yeah. All right, any other member comments? No? All right, with that, we can adjourn if somebody would like to make a motion.
I so move.
Okay?
Second it.
All right, adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
nice
everyone.
job.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
That was very interesting.
It's a long meeting.